Hello people and welcome to another list that nobody will agree on. It's a top list of each and every endgame boss from Mega Man 1 through 11 and Rockman Forte. This list will exclude all wily forms. That is gonna be a list on its own. I've also made lists on the best robot masters, best weapons and best stages, so check them out as well. This list is only my opinion, and I base it on the years of experience I've gathered doing the Snupster Mega Man races, my own evaluations of the series, and the no damage no miss challenge. If you want to critically know each and every aspect of these bosses, go check out my evaluations. I'm not gonna go too deep on this list to save time. I'm sure you have your own opinions, so leave your top list in the comments. We have 4 categories again as usual. Pattern. How does it work? How good is it? Is it fair? Delivery. This takes into account the boss's sprite, the room layout, telegraphs, and so on. Weakness. How the weakness comes into play, how well it works, etc. Fun factor. This is self-explanatory, how fun the fight is considering all of the above and just the overall feel it has. Let's get to the list then. Breakman. We get it, it's not the real Proto Man, hence he goes back and forth while simultaneously jumping. This fight is a bit different due to the room having elevation, but that's about it. Only the Buster can hurt him and it only takes a few shots. If I didn't include Breakman in a list now, when would I ever do that? So here you go. This could have easily just been a cutscene in the game instead. This gives no additional value to Mega Man 3, except the story. Congratulations Breakman, you're the weakest link. When you struggle to write at least something about the fight, you know it's unacceptable. Tank CSII. At least I think it's II and never figured that out. Nothing reminds me of Mega Man more than this slowly approaching tripod massaging unit. What? Nui. Look, it gets knocked back when you shoot its legs. Well, let's take Harambe from Plant Mass stage and change its sprite. Pow Bang Bigelow, we have an endgame boss. You wanna know what the best part about this is? The weakness is Windstorm, so you kinda get close and... What fun! This is definitely the pinnacle of programming. Make it hover around, make it do something else, I beg of you. I didn't pay for the game for you to repurpose enemy designs and make them into a boss character. It kinda looks like one of those walking dog toys you get your simpleton kids for Christmas. All this and I didn't even notice it's firing out bubbles. Bubbles! I always thought those were cannonballs, but apparently not. I'm pretty sure the programmers didn't ask the art team to make Dr. Wily's fapping chambers followed by a tripod tank, but maybe I'm the giddy goat. King Plane. Premise seems good. For once you are chasing something and you're not the one being chased. Execution is true Rockman Forte style, however. He has a screen clear move, a fisting move, it blinds you, and the platforms can become near impossible for Mega Man, and you knock your forehead on the item bubbles, losing them. Well, the blindness occurs when you shoot certain bubbles, so ultimately it's your own fault. But you're trying to hit the boss, so why would you stop shooting? It's not like you can react to the contents of the bubbles while trying to not drop down. When he launches his fist at you, it can be out of rhythm in a way where if you dodge it, you won't make it to the next platform, and if you don't dodge it, you'll take damage. The fist can also take the platforms out, in which case you can just instantly die. And where's the health bar? I have no idea what the weakness is when there's no representation of damage taken. This fight is a bit better with base, but who cares, it's still a pile of brown matter. Technically this seems like a mid-boss and not an endgame boss, but it could go either way. At least for the mini-boss lists, I don't have to do this again. Boo Beam Trap. But Nurko, what could possibly be wrong with this? You have to know beforehand that you need almost full weapon energy for Crash Bomber. You need to be pretty precise, you can't see the enemy's shots because of the NES's horizontal sprite limitations, and the lag certainly isn't helping. You can save a few crash bombs if you do this in a very certain way, but damn they messed up the entire boss. End the game. There's no weapon pickups at the end of the stage, so you need to farm or game over if you mess this up. And you will. Moonbeam Trap is quite possibly one of the most well-known bad bosses of the NES era, and rightfully so. Why do you need the same weapon for both the walls and the turrets? Or better yet, why make me use the Crash Bomber in the earlier stages to get items and shit if this is going to happen? You donkeys! Darkman 2. It's Walkman. Because he walks. Left and right. You shoot at him while he's walking. Eventually he will pass away from it. Or maybe it's because you shot him. Your guess is as good as mine. Hello and welcome. You've reached the end of programming. Would you like to play again? You have selected no. Block Devil. This was the reason I even made this list in the first place. This! Block Devil is quite possibly the worst boss I've ever personally had to endure. The worst part about this is that it actually looks functional and idea rich. While you'd think that you have the entire floor for you to use, the boss ultimately shoves you into the left or right side on top of just a few blocks, so you can dream about dodging even some of its attacks. This is the best part to stand, and why would you stand under the boss anyway? There is no reason. So already you are basically forced to move inside a very small area for the entire fight, but then there's the blocks. This has got to be the most ridiculous pattern to dodge. Most of the time the blocks fly right past you, just above your head, so your stupid ass will keep jumping into them when actually doing nothing would have been the better choice. Such a cocksucker of a boss, making you look like a total idiot. So not a good pattern for the blocks and you're shoved into a little area. This can't possibly get any worse. Until you realize that you can hit the Block Devil like once every blue moon. Weakness being the rebound striker sounds like it would make sense on paper, but hitting the boss with it efficiently requires a physics degree or an uncounted amount of luck. Thunderwall works better in my opinion, but it doesn't cure the boss's horrible design. There is a lack of telegraphs to show you what it does next. You know, like any good enemy in a game would have. Fuck! Fire! Cheater! You just get pummeled for 15 minutes hoping that you could somehow end it all. Usually the devils have been fair enough to a point where you won't die in a few seconds so you can learn the pattern. But this, you just die over and over and over and you never really get to learn how to tackle it. It steers you to certain spots on the floor to dodge the attacks, only to come back and hit you anyway on the next swing. No matter what tricks you try to pull, eventually you'll just give up and stick to the left side, hopelessly jumping over shit. Or into shit. Unless you're a speedrunner who spent an hour in this room practicing the perfect way to do it. Most people aren't speedrunners, or even perfect runners, just like I used to be. But even I'm not masochistic enough to perfect something like this. It's fucking work. Why? Why? Why must life be so hard? Why must I fail at every attempt at Block Devil? King Tank. Not these midgets again. So we're fighting a cock with treads. Lovely. The boss in no way conveys what the weakness could be, or how to even begin to damage it. There's literally no feedback most times. It's just a bunch of waiting and shooting in different areas, one by one as they open up. If you're not using weapons, prepare to spend 20 minutes here, taking it up the ass. It's a really cool idea and it looks a lot better than it plays. But this is really bad. As you're shooting the remote mines at it, and if you happen to go down as you're doing it, you'll just aim the mine instead and miss. Most times the boss is also off screen where you can't see it, then it suddenly just rams into you because you couldn't see the telegraph. If there is one. Like even with the weakness, it's still you waiting for things to open up so you can detonate the mines. If this was remotely interesting and better laid out, this would have actually been rather impressive. Come on! Do something! Thank God, though, there's more of this later. Dark Wood. Oi, cunt! Why you had to be in this game too? It's probably alright, it's just a carbon copy of Mega Man 2's Woodman. You wish. This time the hitboxes are abysmal. Everything about them feels wrong. They're way too big. Then there's this lip on the right side that you hit your head on, making you unable to dodge the attacks. Why is this even here? If you thought dodging Woodman was hard on Mega Man 2, you're going to lose your mind on this version. It's nearly impossible to dodge Woodman when he gets close to you. It's required that you go under him when he jumps, but at the same time you have to dodge his leaf shield, so you end up having to make these ridiculous choreographs first. Nailing this is like winning the lottery. Let's not even talk about the falling leaves. The hitboxes are as bad as everything else you see here. Raw Material did this no damage, and I attempted it but gave up. I would never even try to no-miss this boss. I would consider it impossible for a human to do. Just because one guy did it isn't enough for me. So why put this above some of the other bosses in the list? Weakness mostly. At least with the weakness, Darkwood has no chance. And it's a great choice as well. The only good thing about this boss, really. Darkman 3. Unless you know the very specific way to tackle Darkman 3, you're gonna have a bad time. He shoots 3 glue rings very close to each other, and dodging them is a real chore. More often than not, you're stuck in place after trying to dodge them. The boss runs on strict timers, so pulling off the winning strategy is quite easy once you get the rhythm down. This is the downfall of the boss, such a tedious mechanism that is simply overcome by timing and careful jumps with the weakness. Jumping over the thing can also be a hassle. You just don't design bosses like this, it's complicated to dodge unless you know the exact way to do it. Reminds me of the Robot Masters from Mega Man 1. Convoluted patterns that you just have to know how to deal with, otherwise you'll die instantly. Darkman 3 is just not good. Darkman 1. Walkman has gotten an upgrade, though this is the first Darkman robot. Go figure. Every time you shoot it, it gets faster and fires a shot. So you can probably come up with a strategy in your sleep for this one. Water Wave gets rid of the shots, which is nice, and the weakness makes sense even with the bad selection of weapons in Mega Man 5. Walkman with treads. Got it. God, I love Mega Man 5's creativity. Mwah. Titimino Proto. Rockman and Forte respects its players so much that they make a monkey slap its ass at them right before a boss fight. That's right, bitches. We disrespect you, you fucking kids. So now, you step on this scale to make the obese penguin head pop up, then you shoot it. The monkey is there just for decoration and, well, projectiles. Also, don't step on the inanimate shell on the right, it causes damage for some reason. And there's missiles and a little penguin children about. You have approximately 0.05 seconds to cause damage to the penguin after stepping off the scale. You need to hit something that's not even facing you. The shot has to hit the bottom of the barrel as it's traveling right. The only reason to hit the monkey is to stop it from attacking, and it'll leave for a while, allowing you to harm the actual enemy. Upon killing the boss, make sure to jump off the scale on the left or you'll kill yourself. Yeah, fun for the whole family. Copy vision is supposed to be the weakness, but dealing damage fast with it is just janky. Overall, I wouldn't even fart in the boss's direction. Jet King Robo. That's a dick. That's what Rockman and Forte does. It shoves a cock in your face and laughs while you play the game. Nice, there's a platform so you can... Fuck! And this shit again. Well, you shoot it in the head. He occasionally comes at you slowly. Good telegraph though, and it does fire a screen clear. What? I've heard you can stop it somehow. I've also heard that many people don't care enough to actually come up with strategies. Sometimes he lifts his hand up for fun. This is ridiculous. I don't even have to explain any more of this, because this is literally it. Nothing more to it. Go up on the platform and kill it. Well, when the mines aren't trapped on the platform. There's a bunch of strategies you can use with the weapons, but just quickly killing him by shooting seems to be the easiest method, so throw all of those walkthroughs in the trash. And this boss, X-Crusher. Imagine a pendulum that keeps going forever. Well done, you just imagined the X-Crusher. It swings back and forth, like holy shit, right? If you knock it with the power adapter, it gets knocked. This boss suffers from the same fate as the Block Devil. You're just constrained to a small area on the left, even though you have this huge room to use. So all you'll be doing is jumping in place and hitting the boss with a weapon. Have fun, you dog. King. What do you expect from someone who is shooting the letter X at you? Not much. Though, even the X symbols have a pattern. They went really overboard with this one. You'll need to be really good at this, because if you use the weakness and die, y'all gotta stop and farm in the stage to have another chance if you're not legendary at the game. Oh god, the damage is ridiculous. Timing is the most important part about this. And also giving a shit. Shooting his shield causes a ricochet shot that comes back at you. The thing is, if you don't shoot him at all, Proto Man comes in and takes it in the ass for you. What an idiot. Now the second form just jumps around and fires Gemini lasers, being a total spaz. It's kinda like a horribly timed strike, man. When he's close to dying, he'll start swinging his axe about, which makes him an easier kill. For a fight that's this long, this cumbersome, and the amount of damage it deals is just brutal. You have to go back to the beginning of the stage if you die here, and that's one of the biggest crimes this boss commits. I like that there's a boss which you're not supposed to shoot at first, but Jesus, they messed up the way in which they did it. Dark Flash. While Dark Flash isn't as bad as some of the others, it's still horrendous. It has that familiar Flashman feel, but the terrain doesn't do the fight any favors. In fact, it's what is mostly wrong with this scenario. Dark Flash again requires that you know the exact, true and tested, precise motherfucking way to dodge him. The sprite is so big, it makes it even more awkward than it would normally be. If you have no idea how to dodge him, or if you're just having a bad run, forget the Mega Buster, you're done. Weakness being good saves some of this boss yet again, but that's not how bosses should be designed. You don't just make a bad boss and think that the weakness will somehow create a band-aid on top of the main problem. Convoluted? I'd say so. Horrendous design? Definitely. Dark Heat. It's basically just like Heat, man, and if you haven't seen my Robot Masters list, I'll pin it to the top right. Go watch it if you want an in-depth information on all of them. When I said it's basically like Heat, man, well, it is, except it's a bit broken. For some reason they made it more difficult by giving him a one-frame attack, where he just dives at you immediately after getting hit without mercy. The Dark Robots are an afterthought that should have never happened. They took familiar bosses, and being Capcom, the example to strive by, they messed it all up by not respecting their own past designs. Just like Dark Heat here, it's evident it's not the same pattern, and close enough isn't good enough. Real weakness is top spin, but due to it being broken, I'd recommend Shadow Blade. Either way, not good choices for this boss. Base. Mega Man 7. Breakmass back. It's literally almost identical. I don't know whether this was a blatant joke, but it sure as hell doesn't make me laugh. By careful sliding and dodging, it's doable without taking damage, but it all just seems way too difficult and quickly becomes a rush to who dies first in the competition of spam the attacks. I usually go with fisting him or using the coils, but whatever works, I suppose. The only good thing about this fight is the floor. They made it so that it's actually possible to dodge him. Who did this to you? Answer me! Rounder 2. A couple of block persons on rails. After the great bosses of Mega Man 4, Mega Man 5 and 6 are really stretching it. Weakness being the Flame Blast also makes no sense, and it's hard to hit them with it even though they do commendable damage. The rounders move so fast, it's hard to really grasp where they're going. They also make a lot of different small sweeps. This fight always turns into Flame Blast spamming, and no real strategy is ever really needed. You could use the power adapter and keep knocking the pieces back to change their direction, but why would you do that when the flame blast is much more effective? Imagine this. What if they would somehow telegraph their next moves? Telegraph what they're gonna do next, where they're gonna go. Then they go there. Swap places, teleport around a bit and try closing in on you, instead of this randomness. Would have actually been good. This is like a devil fight made by an 8-year-old with 2 devil pieces that drag around. Good job, Jimmy. But do remember, you are somebody's sex result. Super Bass, Mega Man 7. Wow, now it's Super Bass, dude. And would you believe this fight also sucks? You both just keep going up and down, sometimes seeing each other in the middle and firing out shots randomly, hoping for them to hit. Again, fisting is preferred, the homing shot works as well as it can. And he's using it too, so it's a nice duel, I guess. You're better off not going too far up, as it becomes really tricky to hit him, and he's far better at hitting you in close scenarios. He's also a lot faster than you, so some luck wouldn't hurt. This was supposed to be an iconic fight, but it's just 2 children launching their fists at each other very inconveniently. If you don't have any updates, prepare to die or get lucky with the freeze cracker. This fight seems like it almost requires that you're fully geared up, and that's the icing on this bitch cake. When he gets close to you, he will fire, other times he's ready and charging. Bass just got the short stick in this game, he's just a total loser or asshole. Dark Crash. There's really not much into these dark robots. They try to bring a smile to your face by introducing something familiar, but fail miserably at doing a good job design-wise. And what if you never played Mega Man 2? You'd be confused out of your tiny little mind. Who are these people? In any case, Crashman is probably one of the least offensive renditions. Though of course it's not perfect either. He doesn't always wait for you to fire before he jumps. And fires at you, without being prompted. What an asshole. Sometimes he just jumps anyway. Gosh, I hate all of these dark robots. If you think of these robots as something to overcome and spam to death, then maybe you'll get some satisfaction out of them. Yellow Devil Mark II. Mark II is right. This time we do have 2 weaknesses to choose from, but there are glaring issues on the fight itself. Some of the patterns are almost impossible to avoid because of their lackluster hitboxes. Look at this! This is criminal! Holy Moses! Well, apart from awful hitboxes, it's not too bad and certainly innovates on the existing design. I just personally don't really like the devils at all. Most times it's based on memorization rather than straight up skill, though once you've memorized it, it then becomes a game of skill to execute it flawlessly. I still think it's a bit of a flawed system for a boss. Well, you can either hard knuckle it from afar, or one-pass it with the Shadow Blade, or well, use it anyway even if you can't one-pass the boss. Because of the flaws, this fight I would consider to be worse than Devil Mark 1, at least that one has working hitboxes. Bly King. Good Gradius, Joshua. Hey fellas, we're in the wrong game! No wait, it's just Mega Man 8 lifting its ugly head. Just tank the shots and keep firing the Astro Crush at it, it'll die. Basically, you just want to shoot the parts it extends for you. For some stupid reason, you can't fit in the middle, but it looks like you could. No? What are you, stupid? And because the boss is so big, good luck hitting any of the trash it throws at you before it's too late. It's covering all the shots for half an hour. That, and you move so slowly, my gosh. At least there's alright telegraphs, so you can get out of the way when necessary. The background is cool, but it's scrolling so fast it sometimes causes you to take damage from the projectiles. It can really mess your eyes up, especially if you got your options, aka friends with you, then the whole screen is just full of gunk. It's also irritating hitting the hitboxes with anything else than the Astro Crush. This boss is just a pain in the ass, albeit pretty cool to see and witness. It's different, but does it suit a Mega Man game? No. Matangar Z. The heck is this? Looks like Optimus Prime got cut in half and now it's just the lower limbs with a Met head fighting us. It fires straight and bouncing shots. Whoop-de-doo, my man. All you do is slide around, dodging the shots. This is exhilarating. Of course, to make any kind of difficulty probable, they needed to make the weakness Blizzard Attack. To ease the pain, you could turn your back against it to deal damage immediately, otherwise you'll be waiting a few years for the shots to land. There's really nothing else to say about this. Another throwaway boss for Mega Man 5. Wait a minute, is this Mega Man 5 or 6? This is 6! Well, they kind of blend together, the games, the end game at least. It's 6! And oh, I almost forgot to mention, it has fists. But why? Why Mega Man 6? Why does it have fists? What are the fists for? Metal Daddy. Metal Daddy. His jumps are garbage. The stun effect is garbage. The weakness is garbage. Well, okay, I'll let that slide. Look at this! You can barely slide under him. You need to be a bit further away from it as you'd think. There's really not enough room for this fight, and we basically have the whole screen estate. How is that even possible? Rings are fine and dandy, but that hardly saves any aspect of the fight. Neither does dust. I mean, what is there to say that I haven't? It's that simple. Metal Daddy's pattern is just awful, and the only thing he does is shield himself and jump around, shaking the ground. It's a cute idea for the boss, and it suits the level, as well as gives you a heart attack upon seeing it the first time, but other than that it's stale as your mother's homemade soup. Just tell her it's good and finish it out of fake respect. Darkman 4. Why do you need 4 of these fucks? Mega Man 5 is just an uninspired mess of a game. This time the fellow goes back and forth and fires at you whilst a shield goes around him. Weakness being a beat call isn't bad, but you don't necessarily even have it. If you do, prepare to do these little mini steps to activate the bird, as otherwise it just hovers there doing nothing with a thumb up its ass most of the time. It's not too bad to Buster, but pretty lame. Still, it's the best Darkman we got and deserved the Mark IV title. Well, at least it has a cutscene to make up for the horrible fight. Ill tank. Is it a lame tank? Spike pushers. What a neat idea. A boss that's made of multiple pieces and you have to keep them all out of your way simultaneously. Well, that's where the fun ends though. To keep them away, you have to rapid fire at them for hours. You'll lose the feeling to your thumb and you'll start to beg for it to end. Yet, it won't. For a long ass time. Have I tried the Magma Bazooka, you ask? Have I? Yes, I have! It doesn't help too much. I'd even argue the Buster is better because it's more precise. In any case, you'll be shooting forever. It's easier to take 2 out first and then the remaining 2 because trying to juggle 4 of them is way harder. 2 plus 2 is 4, minus 1 that's 3 quick maths. Everything about it works fine and it's a boss, but my god, even for a good masher like myself, it's painful. And of course there's mini iframes, so they don't get knocked back as fast as you fire. It's just a cocksucker of a boss. I have personal hatred for this. Shame on you, Mega Man 9. Holograph Mega Mans. Holograph Mega Mans. But yeah, guys, idiots. Wow. 3 of me. Wouldn't it be nice if it was actually random and you'd have to guess which one was the real one? Well, I don't know, you tell me. It's actually easily dissectable. When you go into the room, he's always at the top. And after that, the real one will always spawn in a few frames before the other copies do. So if you just pay attention, you'll know where the real one is. It's also lacking any kind of iframes, so killing it fast isn't a problem. Fun fact, you can fire out Buster shots with a rush coil for example, then pause when the shots are on the screen and swap to top spin, and the bullets will take the properties of top spin's damage, and well, it's an easy way to quickly deal damage without coming in contact with the boss. I'd also call you a rotten cheater at that point. It's one of those ideas that was great on paper, I believe, but the actual execution isn't as pretty. Even though you have the whole room to use for your platforming, you'll rarely move from the left side, and why should you? I just don't like bosses with bad rooms. You're not utilizing the horse per the horse? That's just, you're not utilizing the whole screen state in the fight, so automatically you're losing some of the fluent gameplay. Yes, it can still be good even if you're pushed to one side, but this isn't. A Titimino. A Titimino. I had real trouble with this boss for years, until I figured out that you can press up with the Mega Ball and it'll hit the boss easier. Maybe I'm stupid or something, I just can't remember the game telling me that. This fight also sort of requires that you get used to using the Buster button along with the Mega Ball to get rid of the enemies on ground level, and still have enough time to fire the balls up. I also just explained how the whole fight works in like 10 seconds. There's nothing more to this. Find the obese penguin and hit it. Hit something else? Well, you're just an idiot. It's actually quite genius, but because of the shrapnel and it being Mega Man 8, well, I basically hate it. To be serious though, it's not all bad, it's something you'd probably expect to see in a Mega Man game. Maybe as a smaller mid-boss version though, and not a real endgame boss. It also keeps dropping you weapon energy so that you don't run out. That's nice of him, helping us that way. Rush is also good at carpet bombing the boss, which is sort of a fun secret. Power Piston. Ah, the wall pussy. It moves vertically and fires at you while rocks drop down from the air. What in the name of lag? Luckily, weapon energy isn't a big problem in Mega Man 6 due to how much you use the adapters, so having to buster this is pretty much never required. And my god, if it was, you can barely reach the motherfucker. As well choice for the weakness, I must say. This is nothing else but med shots, accompanied with the dropping rocks mechanic, accompanied with an object that is being moved up and down. There's nothing original here. And despite it having a glowing orb in the middle, you don't have to shoot it exactly there. A lot of this is just a design mess. Stop the noise! Fucking stop it! The rocks, however, never drop to the far left, but because every place else is a death trap, there is no reason to use the buster. Even if you do get a chance to fire at it, it will fire first, making it unsafe to jump. In layman terms, I hate this. Guts Dozer. It's big, it's threatening, it's colossal, it's terrifying! It's also dumb as a brick and it drops like a bag of spots. Doesn't really matter if you use the buster or the boomerangs, Guts Dozer dies incredibly fast, making the fight underwhelming. You just jump on the threads and hammer on it. Its damage output is also really low, so you dying to this fight requires some strange gymnastics a normal person isn't capable of. The mets flying at you is nice and all, but what's up with the fists again? Punch me, goddammit, you have fists! It's just a static sprite that takes it up the ass. Every time you hit him, the screen flashes white. Thanks lads, let's make people with epilepsy pass out. That happens on every endgame boss of Mega Man 2. Also, what is that? Just slow bullets being thrown out of its mouth. Jesus Christ, I could make a better endgame boss out of my own feces. Bass, Mega Man 8. Music is cool, the fight seems cool, hey, this could be a cute time to start enjoying Mega Man 8. Dang, it's quite difficult to dodge this evil energy. But hey, look at the cool animations. Too bad he's actually a lot easier than his previous forms in Mega Man 7. He's a complete joke.
What?
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 What? Shut up!
What?
He's got some new cool moves, but cool is where it stays. He doesn't do much of anything in terms of trying to kill you. He's one of those kids with new, fresh and clean, dapper clothes, and he's just there to showcase them, alongside his light-up shoes. Damn, I wanted those when I was a kid. I would have been so cool. This is one of those fights where the telegraphs are actually too long, and it makes the whole fight super easy. He has no real weakness, but we know the bomb hits multiple times, so that's an option. Okay, get the fuck out of here, you clown.
What?
Cossack Catcher. At first glance, the Cossack Catcher looks awesome and frightening. Upon closer inspection though, you'll realize that it just goes back and forth while trying to grab you to deal damage. It's overly simplistic and ends abruptly as you can't actually kill the boss, but just win the fight awkwardly. Dust Crusher isn't a bad choice, but what I find hilarious is using the wire adapter. He literally can't move if you use it. Another tip is that if you slide, he also can't move. Just keep sliding and he'll stay put. Weird coding, huh? Not a huge fan of the floor either. The big hump makes it kinda awkward to deal with Cossack, but outside of that, there's really no challenge here at all. You'd maybe hope that he would sweep down somehow, corner you, or do something else than just slowly trying to grab your mega ass. Dark Metal. Like the other dogs, there are issues, but yet it's not as bad as some of them. He sometimes seems to not react to your position, but most times it seems pretty accurate to its Mega Man 2 counterpart. Too bad the hitbox is humongous, making it more difficult to execute the best pattern. It's not as hard to recreate Metal Man, so for obvious reasons it's above most of the others. I just don't get why they had to add the lip to the right side. It just takes away from the fight rather than giving it something. Dark Metal does disrespect Metal Man's original AI here and there, but overall it's one of the better renditions. I'm not totally mad about this. Dark Bubble. Improved they have, I guess. While Bubble Man's attacks are near impossible to dodge if you don't know the close-up strategy, Dark Bubble here actually kinda works. Even if you go away from him, it's doable to dodge his bubbles and shots. While it's still the same boring fight, I'm glad it's now somewhat better, I guess. It also looks like there's less lag and flickering. Of course, the hitbox on the dock itself is big, so there's that. Bubble Man as well as Dark Bubble, they don't usually get much screen time, and that's because they don't deserve it. It's really a mediocre fight, both ways, and doesn't really do much in the grand scheme of things. Bubble Man, what a concept. Psh, unreal. Megatragon. Megatragon reminds me of what was so great about the endgame bosses of Mega Man 4. It's a big motherfucker that takes your breath away the first time you see it. It's impressive looking and leaves a memory for you to cherish forever. Too bad the actual fight is mediocre and flawed. The chase in the beginning is unique and memorable, I will give you that. The main problems are bothersome. If there's too much going on, you get permanent iframes. So just keep shooting and you'll become invincible. The Buster is pretty much as good as the Quick Boomerang, and why would you even use the Atomic Fire? It's asking for trouble. I like the dodging aspect of the fight, but the blocks could be better laid out. Move the middle block over to the right more, and you have more of a chance to land on it after getting hit. Due to so much going on in the fight, your hurt animation also doubles or even triples, so you'll be sliding around like a little cockroach on something slippery. Listen, it's not entirely bad, but the flaws certainly make a big enough impact to significantly lower the score. It's a case of, it looks nice, but plays horribly. Fuck, the fuck is that? Dark Air. Well, since you now have the slide, the patterns are actually easier to dodge. All of the patterns are dodgeable, and the whole fight isn't actually a piece of shit. It's just a nugget of shit. Why the same lip on the wall to the right again? I don't know! And of course, the timing is different once again. There are some good weapon choices like Spark Shock and Magnets. Ultimately, it's just a big hitbox airman who wasn't that impressive to start with, so once again the Dark Robot gets a paddling. Yellow Devil Mark III. Did we really need yet another Yellow Devil? Apparently so. Screw original ideas, this is Mega Man 11 and it is safe and user-friendly. Here's all the enemies from Mega Man 5, oh and a bunch of shit from other games you've already seen, such as this. It's pretty close to the original Yellow Devil, but it has new tricks. Such as vertical shots, it's manifesting into little yellow people and trying to hit you that way. Oh, that's everything, that's literally all the new things. There's no more tricks. There's also no real weakness, but when it splits into multiple persons, Thunderstorm will most likely hit them all, and with the power gear, bombing his face seems to work alright. But basically, this is just Yellow Devil Mark 1 and 2 together, nothing that new or shocking. A missed opportunity for a real endgame boss. Megazorus. Cute Mega Man 6, trying to bring back the cool bosses of Mega Man 4. But not so fast. Alright, fine, it's pretty nice. Weird how it's helping you though with the platforms. Why is it helping us? He's helping us to kill himself. Weaknesses make sense, but too bad you have to hit it in the nostrils. Mouth and eyes simply won't do. And also the big red fucking button on top of his head. That's just a ruse. Or they just fucked up. Well, this is one of the most insulting hitboxes in the whole classic lineup of Mega Man.
Did you already forget about the Yellow Devil?
A perfectly fine fight, ruined by one simple thing. Well, and I guess the fact that you have pretty much nothing else to do than stay on the left because, you know, the whole right side of the screen has been occupied by a lizard person who doesn't even move. Well, at least it shoots out something. Staying in the rhythm can be tricky because of them, however. Not bad, not great. 3-point-something Röntgen. Green Devil. A more lenient, casual version of the devils. You shoot it and it gradually opens, and once it's completely open, you shoot more. Weakness works well, but it's sometimes a bit hard to spam it in the air. This devil doesn't throw any pieces at you in the normal fashion, it just goes down the train, comes up and does whatever. Sometimes you can end up in the other side of him, in which case you just can't do anything but wait. The patterns are nice when he decides to show them. Feedback based on when you hit him is kind of a letdown. It can be hard to realize what is causing damage and what isn't. This devil is basically like a depressed version of the original. Oh, you don't like me, let me just melt and vanish. Oh shit, slow spikes! Oh shit, slow dominoes! Though well animated. Not too much to say here, it's like if your mom tried to be cool and dressed up as the Yellow Devil, but her outfit was green and she'd be embarrassing. Mother, you bitch! Yellow Devil. Well, well, well. The first appearance of a devil made it this far. Which is criminal. Sure, it's all pattern based, it's all dodgeable, but before you know what to do, you'll have to die plenty of times until you learn the exact pattern. In a usual boss fight, you might get lucky here and there before you master it, but the devil fights, there's usually no luck with these, you just gotta do it perfectly. I hate how you basically have one chance per pass to hit the eye, and even if you manage to shoot it multiple times, there are hidden iframes, so in the end, you can literally only attack it once when the eye is present. Why? Because fuck you, that's why! Of course you could cheese it with the pause glitch, but that applies to anything in Mega Man 1, not just this boss. I do sadistically like how the Thunder Beam is the weakness, because you can miss with it even if you make a straight shot, as the beam can just go around the whole eye. There's just something satisfying about that, not hitting your target. What am I talking about? Well, the pattern isn't too bad to memorize, kinda like riding a bike. Once you learn it, you won't easily forget it. Except I forgot how to ride a bike. Yellow Devil is like that uncle you don't like, inappropriately touching your buttocks and offering you a sticker you put on your tongue. Man, get the hell out of here, you creep. Yeah, that's exactly what Yellow Devil is like. I also believe it discriminates against the Chinese somehow. Cockroach twins! Okay, let me do that again. Cockroach twins. Moonwalking into the boss room should rate this boss 10 out of 10, but let's ignore that, shall we? Interesting idea, having enemies crawling around the room. Was kinda hoping for them to attach to the middle platforms as well, but the world we live in isn't perfect. Sad to see a lot of potential wasted here. The cockroaches just occasionally shoot out bullets, but other than that it's far from interesting. The first one only uses the ceiling, while the second one goes all around. I always wanted to go past the gates to see what kind of cool level lied ahead, but sadly the gates are just for show. They're cockroach gates. Gates for cockroaches, not for Megabug. The enemies... the fuck's wrong with me? The enemies... Fuck! The enemies should somehow attach themselves in the middle, spread into different parts, swing their legs at you or something. But like this, it's just really monotonous. Weakness is excellent and makes perfect sense. It's just that there's more of a wow factor here than any actual sweet design. Shame, it looks cooler than it is. CWU-01P. What? CW. Wait, why is it a W? Isn't the letter a V? Like a double V? W. Stupid Americans aside, this boss is more than meets the eye. W. Oh well. Well, actually it's not. It's less than meets the eye, because the shots keep disappearing due to the sprite limitations. The gate from which the bubble boss comes out from is totally random, tied to the frame most likely, so it's kind of a crapshoot whether you'll get hit or not. It's best if it comes out from the left, as it gives you most time to kill one of the forms. If it comes from the other gates, you're kind of fucked unless you do some sick moves on top of the cast blocks, especially on the final forms. It just becomes too fast to dodge reliably. It's nice to see a boss with different forms, even if it's lackluster in performance. The weakness nails it, however, as using the super arm here just makes sense, as there's blocks there. You can also save up the blocks if you know a trick on picking them up, but that's cheating. You cheaters. Wish the blocks were somehow put on the ground better, or all about the room somehow, so this would be a bit better and more interesting, but can't get it all. It's Mega Man 1 and it already outperforms most of the crap from Mega Man 5. Twin Devil. Twin Devil is really similar to Block Devil, but this time you have space to move. Not the whole room, but most of it anyway. The pattern isn't obnoxious and it's quite straightforward to learn. Hitting the eye can be tricky, and you need good reflexes and precision, but overall it doesn't take too long. Especially if you keep pausing to reset the black hole bomb, it can be over in seconds. That's about it. The eye goes from one bubble to the next, and it repeats. Forever. It's just okay at what it does. If you look at the devil in Mega Man Rock'n'Roll, you quickly realize how stale this is. So, depending on what you compare it to, can make it better or worse. It's missing a lot of soul, and I'd argue that something else would have probably been better. This is quite boring. Doc Quick. Quick Man in fat form. Is it better or worse? Well, considering the stage is longer now, and it also has dark air, it's probably a bit worse. The fight has more lag, and it seems that Doc Quick isn't as quick as Quick Man, and because of the straight floor, it does seem easier to avoid even with the bigger hitbox. He also doesn't get glitched inside walls like the original did. He is, however, as bad on paper, because it tries to grasp the original fight so closely, it almost feels like it's emulating some of the flaws. There are some impossible scenarios where you'll get hit no matter what, and that's the true essence of Quick Man. So even though they replicated it pretty well, they replicated the things that weren't supposed to be replicated. Like Quick Man being a total asshole. This is basically just another random mess, but somehow it's still better than any other Dark Robot. Why? Because it feels epic, and it's nice to see the biggest dick of Mega Man 2 come back from the dead. I welcome you, yet I don't. Copy Robot. Elec Man shares its AI with the Copy Robot for the most part. They both have designated shooting spots on the ground, but the difference is that Copy Robot can jump back or forwards. In other words, if you never let him to one of the shooting spots, he will never fire. You can cheese the fight quite easily knowing this. Let him fire and just keep jumping over the shots. The problem arises when you shoot him, as he jumps and you won't really know if it's at you or away from you. If he keeps hopping forwards too much, he'll reach you eventually and caresses your manlyhood. The weakness game this time is kinda iffy, but what options would you have anyway? I'd probably pick the Hyper Bomb to be the weakness and just one-off him with that, but they didn't think about that, so it's not in the game. It's cool to see Mega Man fighting Mega Man, and the weapon mimicking is a nice touch, but it could also be due to the limitations of the system, as he's basically just a copy of the player. I don't know about you, but I find this fight unique and fun, but its execution is Mega Man 1 tier, which is to say, a mudslide. Bad. Kamegoro Maker. Opportunity wasted. This looks so clever. This looks like something that would fit Mega Man 7. There are these small currents with nice telegraphs, but they don't really come into play in any meaningful way. They just slightly nudge you at best. Even if you get pushed into enemies, they deal so little damage it almost doesn't matter anyway. The turtles, cool concept, really cool concepts, bad execution. You always kill them so fast you don't get to really experience the whole package. If you mess things up, for example take too long, the turtles come out of their shells and there's explosions and shit. Too bad you kill them so fast you'll never see it. Sure, with the Buster you might take too long, but come on. And this is the problem. It's too convoluted, too late, and does little to impress. I just don't like when things have a godly amount of potential that is wasted. And the turtles just knock against the walls like some kind of a screensaver. It's just a DVD logo crashing into the edges. I'm having more fun looking at it possibly crashing into a corner perfectly. One other thing is that you might hit your head on the actual machine, but come on now. I love the idea, I hate the result. And there's like what, 5 turtles? It's like beating up the Ninja Turtles if they were handicapped and kicking them while they're drooling on the floor. Circling Q9. She's a maniac, maniac on the floor. Yes, it's time for fitness, because this fellow makes you run back and forth, trying to get your shots landed in between the openings of the circle. Circle and ring. Get it? Man, those Japanese, so clever. What's Q9, What's Q9, I ask? Well, for some reason he has no telegraphs for any of the shots. They just come out. And the cannonballs don't explode on the ground, they just drop through it. Maybe that could have been the added challenge this needed. Though, if you don't know what to do, you'll most likely just keep colliding into the boss. But carefully observing it, it's clear how to safely kill it. So, not a huge fan of the projectiles and how those were implemented, but I do like the little platforms and everything else here. Maybe the platforms could have been part of the boss's body though, to make it look more serious. It's a boss, I don't hate it, but leaves a lot to be desired, especially when the gyro attack is the weakness. Good luck not changing its trajectory while you're jumping around, avoiding shit. Pico Pico-kun. Hey look, it's basically Block Devil, but not a cunt! In all seriousness, it's actually half decent. It has that oh god factor, and it's actually quite pleasing taking out the parts, either with bubble lead, metal blades, or the Buster. If you don't kill a part quick enough, it just moves between 3 points. Its speed is based on how late in the fight you are, so the last pieces will be faster than in the beginning, all completely dodgeable, mind you. Too bad there are no telegraphs when the pieces break loose, they just come out, so sometimes you'll be standing on the parts that will come out next and take a hit. It's the same every time though, so once you learn it, there's nothing more to it. It is pretty nice how you are literally trapped in the room, making it really suspenseful, as it's not a real entity, it's the room itself coming alive and trying to kill you. And there's no escape, it's either you or the wall. Once again, nice idea that keeps you wanting something more. Gutsman Chi. Remain calm. That's the best advice you could give for anyone trying this boss. You shoot him in the head, where his helmet is located. But when the ceiling starts to drop down rocks, you know you'll have some dodging to do. When he's closing in on you, space out your shots to keep him away from you. Otherwise he'll suplex your ass to the ceiling. Worst thing is that if you just stick to the left, never move, and you only keep jumping, then that's all you gotta do. You don't need the D-pad at all. If you want to have fun like a normal person, do keep moving. The biggest thing that drives this boss up in the list is the badass factor alone. Well, I mean, he just grabs you and fucks you up, looking all jacked up and shit. He also does a massive amount of damage, and the whole shooting him to push him back was never well portrayed. It's a mess, but a lovable mess. Big pets. Babushka! Shoot the parts come at you. Heads come down to try and hit you while you do this. Honestly, this is pretty fun. Every time you successfully land on those platforms, it fills you with warmth, kinda like a whiskey shot. Crystal Eye is the weirdest weakness you could think of, and it doesn't work that well either. Why use a weakness that breaks against the walls in a boss fight with no walls? A simple boss, but does it need to be more complex? Well, yes, I'd say so. There are good feelings associated with the boss and my body, but ultimately it absolutely requires more attacks. And maybe add 3 platforms, not just 2. It all looks good though. I like the spikes on the sides of those platforms, giving the player a clear indication not to be a dumbass about it. The telegraph for the dropping heads is also good, as he closes and opens his eyes when he launches those up and down at you. It's a swell boss, but would have required more pizzazz to earn a better placement. Taco Trash. Taco Trash? Who makes these names up?
Well, Nukidere, the name comes from Japan meaning octopus.
The boss itself doesn't move. but there are vertical conveyor belts that do. Good enough for me, and the fight is actually substantially better than what we've seen most of the time. The hitbox is small, but accurate. One thing I wish was that you couldn't use this edge on the platform to cheese the fight. The boss should be right on the edge. This fight is pretty fun with the Buster, but of course using rings is the sane solution. The room again is kinda restricting, but I'm alright with it since there is more vertical playground this time around. Hey, that rhymed! I do like the different shots, the cannonballs and the fire. I just wish it was a bit more varied. Maybe the flames could shoot into Mega Man's current position or something. There's also a huge trick to this fight. The only thing preventing you from going behind the boss are 2 stacked up walls, which you can destroy with the drill bomb. Now the walls are gone and you're free to go behind it. Now just jump and fire rings. You're done. Not really putting that against the design, somebody was just bored enough to find this out. Overall, a good change of pace comparing it to the other endgame bosses. Morn. If circling Q9, Bubble Boss and Wily Capsule had a child, Morn has exceptionally good telegraphs, and learning to dodge his attacks is a pretty joyous time. It has multiple different attacks that are all different, and it keeps going around the stage enough for you to keep moving. I'd consider this a fix for the various things it overshadows, such as circling and the Bubble Boss. It doesn't do much else than improve on those past ideas, but I think it's a pretty good boss overall. Just a shame Mega Man 11 felt the need to copy a lot of things from Mega Man 5 instead of coming up with new ideas, but that's criticism towards the game, not the boss. So out of context, Morn is solid and pretty much defines what an endgame boss should be like. Weakness is also great, since the first time I played the game, I was kinda hoping that Bounce Ball was the answer due to the boss behaving the way it did, and I'm glad to say that was the case. Making 2.5D great is often a challenge, but Mega Man 11 pulls it off well with this addition of an endgame boss. This is how it's supposed to be. Fun, clear, easy to understand, but not a complete walk in the park. A challenge with clear markers. I like it. Mig Shark. Your first impression seeing this boss is probably along the lines of, what the shit is this? That's one way to give me tail. Anyway, what I love about this is the different segments. First you fight the missiles at the back, then the shark persons in the middle, and lastly the lasers on the front side. Lucky for us, weaknesses are alright, especially Magma Bazooka on the second form. On the first form there's plenty of room to dodge the missiles, and you can easily reach the hatch with your shots. No weird tricks needed. The second form is a bit worse due to the limited space you have, so you either do these mini hops to take out the deployment hatches or stay on the ground level using Magma Bazooka. It's a great way to make you feel claustrophobic, so I'll let it slide. The last section, you shoot your load into its open mouth while watching for the lasers. Hornet's help here, though not necessary. Would have been cool if you could jump on the lasers too. I mean, you would have needed to swap them into missiles or something, but that's the only thing here that strikes me as odd, as you'll just be on the ground, dodging them. But it makes sense too, being the last form. The sprite itself could have looked nicer and more polished. It looks like some kid drew it with their left hand. But hey, it's pretty good. Weapons Archive. Mega Man is known to go back to the past to attempt and fix some of the shit it got wrong in the first place. Now that I think about it, they're probably just lazy and steal their own ideas. In any case, this is how the Dark Robots should have been introduced. See, this is actually fun, whereas the Dark Robots felt like injecting rye bread into your own catheter. I don't know what the double-edged spike is about. I would have rather seen poorly rendered Robot Masters with VHS effects on them instead, but maybe that's just me. Maybe people like the spikes. Booey. With these weird sprites, the telegraphs aren't as clear as they probably would have been on the Robot Master designs, though you still get some kind of a marker on the upcoming attacks. The fights feel good and pretty close to their original counterparts. Even the 16-bit renditions have been brought into 8-bit rather gracefully. There are differences, yes, but they are nothing like the problems we encounter with the Dark Robots. Once you figure out the correct weakness chain, it brings all the fights together in a rather harmonious way. Bustering all of them is also pretty fun. Things like the Thunder Beam being slower, and seeing the Gemini laser without lag can all be marked down as improvements. There are some robot masters I would have loved to see, but those are just based on opinions, so never mind. The background is also rather impressive, but I'll leave that to you to think about. Square machine. Fine. It needed some work, but my goodness, what an original idea. A boss that is made of multiple parts, moves out of the screen, then comes back and manifests into a bigger being. The speed of it is a good indication when it's going to stop. It basically has 3 speeds: fast as fuck, medium as steak, and slow as romantic lovemaking after a great evening out driving speedboats and jumping a ramp over a bridge with your loved one, which is your cat. The boss is a square. When it becomes one, you ride the platforms up and hit the glowing red orb, which kinda looks like the orb they had in the Simpsons episode when the house was equipped with smart Pierce Brosnan technology, Ultra House 3000! I like how the pieces come together and the suspense waiting for it to do its thing. If I really think into it, would it be nice to see the pieces also come together vertically, as right now, you only really need to slide to dodge the bottom piece. Nevertheless, a unique idea that we don't see often. That gets praise from me. Maybe the moving platforms share some code lines with the taco trash ones, but oh well. And hitting the boss with the weakness isn't as satisfying as I would have thought. Hanyaned. A rather simple but extraordinary boss fight in the shores of Mega Man. Certain killing is what it says on his sprite. This time you'll be running away from the culprit, whilst sometimes turning back to fire at it. It's not clear at first, but you can jump on the missiles and use them as platforms. Pretty neat. This helps you fire at him more easily. Weakness makes a lot of sense, since while you're running you can slide into the noise crush and power it up. Then turn back and fire it off. I like the special effects on this guy. The bombs look cool, and the laser is even more epic. It's all patternized, so a pass or two and you probably learned it. That could also be one of its downfalls. It doesn't really alternate its attacks in any meaningful way. I absolutely like the overall design and how it's built, but one more attack or variation to its attacks would have probably been more than welcome. Also, pretty much the only way to dodge the laser is on the right side, as it scales up and down too fast for you to react. Kind of a bummer. It also does this charge attack at you, but I would have preferred if he charged up on the left and then quickly swept to the right to appear more menacing. Oh well, good job in any case. Matreya. Holy shit! What are you trying to make me pass away? When I was 4 years old and I got to this boss for the first time ever, I remember throwing my controller on the wall and running to shut off the NES, and closed myself in the upstairs bathroom and locked the door. This was one of the scariest things I had ever seen, and there I was, having to fight it. I then realized that I actually did just shut off the NES, and I lost my progress. I'd have to go through the stage again with my password and overcome my fears. I remember giving the controller to my father and pushing him on to beat it for me. I can't remember if he ever did or not, but I got enough courage to do it on my own. Call it nostalgia or not, I do adore this boss. The uneasy feeling you get when he starts to remove the floor, and just overall the look of the sprite, it's disgustingly good and frightening. He could have been a bit faster when it comes to breaking the floor, but it's almost there. Additionally, he shoots out a big bullet, which does get a bit stale, I admit. There were endless opportunities to make this boss cooler and more interesting, but it's fine as it is for any newcomer. Matreya is one of those you just gotta love, and it perfectly portrayed the uneasiness the player gets from Mega Man 4's endgame. Ring is a good weapon for it, as it pierces through the hitbox, though I wouldn't have said anything against Dive Missile either. If they added some kind of platforms on the boss's side and made you climb up on top of his head to deal damage, this would have probably been in first place. Game Riser. Look at the little turtles go! This is one of those bosses that you won't forget. Game Riser himself moves really predictably back and forth, but dodging it is still tons of fun. The meat of the fight is in these little fellows though. They all come in with different numbers, and the numbers determine their actions. Of course I never knew this and just kept wondering what it means. Maybe little icons instead of arbitrary numbers would have been better. Number 1 walks forward and jumps. Number 2 spins around the room. And number 3 buries itself underground and comes back up. You can use a variety of weapons, but the best option would be the wild coil, and then trapping the small people into bubbles, which you can knock into Game Riser's face for 8 damage. That's, I think, the best part about this. There are multiple ways to deal with the boss, and the most difficult is the most rewarding and the most impressive. That alone gives this boss a lot of points. If you have to think of negative things to say, I'd maybe call out the size of the boss in relevance to the room size. You don't have a lot of room to move, hence why trapping the turtles could be a bit of a hassle. I also like how getting hit actually matters. He isn't fucking around. Grab Puncher. While the sprite isn't the most beautiful thing to look at, Grab Puncher is exactly what you'd expect from an endgame boss. The room is slowly scrolling to the right while platforms come in from the left. The bottom parts are covered in spikes, so you can't just jump up to them. You need to do some sideways movement. Using the platforms is essential and gives you the vantage points you need. Hitting the eyes is obvious, but not easy. The boss is very interactive and smart, punching you, covering its weak spots, shooting out projectiles and moving its eyes. Weakness is thought out well, as a straight shot from a commando bomb doesn't do much, but hitting the sides next to the eyes will be the real deal breaker. Such a nice idea. And the way the platforms collide into his body, nice touch. Taking out the claws is also possible, which in the long run makes the fight easier and allows, for example, the use of Thunder Wall on both eyes simultaneously. Telegraphs can be short and unannounced, but other than that, I can't find much wrong with this. It's the best idea in the classic series, the best execution, and it's really easy to like every aspect of it. Grab Puncher defines what an endgame boss in a Mega Man game should be. So that's the entire list. What this taught me is that the endgame bosses aren't as well designed as I originally thought. A lot of them have something left to be desired, and there's hidden potential in each of them. In any case, catch you on the next one.